This is Pixie. I was thinking of going for a walk and having a discussion, and then I was like, it's miserable. I don't want to go for a walk. And then also, I'm not sure if this is a walk topic or if this should be one of the, like, legit avoidant discussions. So, here's the compromise. My therapist had said something to the effect of, did having my kid allow me to embody avoidant personality disorder? And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? And he meant that it sort of allowed me to exist because I had the outlet of having a person. As I wasn't actually completely alone, and therefore let me sort of, dwell the way I was without making any changes. Or something like that. Anyway, and so what I wanted to, this is very personal, that's why it's like, okay, it's very personal to me, that's why it would be a walk topic, but it's also, I wanted to break down, this is the avoidant thought process, this is why it is so pervasive and why it is in everything. Okay, first of all, when he said that, I don't remember exactly what he said. That is the first warning bell to me that I'm having an avoidant reaction. Because it like scrambles my brain and I try to, it's almost like a PTSD reaction. I'm trying to forget the moment immediately. And the second thing is, what he said, he's my therapist. He's not, human beings all judge, but he is not trying to judge me. He's trying to figure out what's going on. But my reaction was like, oh, what did you mean by that? Are you trying to say I'm codependent? Are you trying to, what is the buzzword? Emotional incest or something because it's my kid? Is that what you're trying to suggest, that something's going on there? I was really, really feeling, I wasn't feeling attacked. I was reacting as if I was being attacked. And I was trying to break it down and figure out what was he getting at. Where is he coming from? He's not actually just meaning the words. There must be something beyond it. I got completely silent and was really like staring at him, trying to analyze his facial expression to figure out what did he, and then finally I just said straight up, because he's my therapist, so I said, what did you mean by that? And then he explained it, and it still didn't really make sense to me, and it still doesn't. And again, that's the avoidant reaction. And I'm going to go to therapy this afternoon, and I'm trying to get up the gumption to bring it up with him, because I don't want him to feel judged, and I don't want him to feel bad. But if it's interesting to me if he can pull back all the emotion and just look at the mechanics of this is what happens with an avoidant person. And who knows, maybe it's an interesting discussion. I don't even know, one way or the other. On the one hand, yes, avoidant people need other people. And, it constantly goes through people's head, oh, I'll just be a hermit and never have to deal with anybody again, and then I won't have any of this pain, and I'll just know forever this is the level I'm going to stay at. It's not going to get any worse. Hear my cat, sorry. And nobody can do that. Nobody. That's why people stick with the people who are abusing them. because you can't, if you're avoidant. If you're schizoid, different matter. But if you're avoidant, you can't be alone really completely. You have to have people in your life. And so, I don't know. And then also there's the whole, it's really hard for me to talk about my kid anyway, because it's like, it seems like I'm blaming him for the avoidance, and I really, really try to make a point of saying, it's the people that came with him. It's the doctors, it's the therapists that had to be in my house. It's the teachers. I mean, I think that 3 out of every 4 days I was called by the school about something. At least. I think it might have been even higher than that. If I'm including when my son called me, it's probably higher than that. It was every day. It was, and that was just my kid. Then there were my parents had to be randomly dealt with also. So that okay. My mother used to tell me all the time that I was blaming my kid, and that I was, because she was just always, had to give the alternate devil's advocate side to everything. And so that's sort of stuck in my head, that I, quote, blame my kid for what's going. I'm like, no, excuse me. If there's blame, it's my parents. Thank you very much. Which, that's another thing that people are like, oh, well, you should, forgive your parents. And it's funny. It's exactly the same sort of thing. That you get drilled into your head by abusive people. Forgive and forget. It's done. It's over. It's never brought up again. Just because I do understand where my mother was coming from, sort of. And I do forgive her, mostly. But that doesn't, but see, again, yes, I forgive her. I forgive her because I would, I don't actually dwell on it every day. And even though I talk about it in my videos still a lot, because I'm trying to say these are the origins of avoidant personality disorder. This is how it manifests in my life. I forgive her because I would help her, but that does not mean forget everything and just poof, that's not an impact on my life anymore. And that's another thing that's really funny to me, that people, it seems, I don't know if it's everybody, because I don't talk to that many people. But especially damaged and abused people, to forgive means it never happened. And that's bullshit. It did happen. And my cats are being crazy. But it's about to snow. I don't want to put them out. So anyway, yeah. So this is kind of rambly. But again, as far as the thought process of somebody with avoidant personality disorder, immediately, doesn't matter who is saying something, why they're saying it, you try to break it down and see where the judgment is, what they're actually trying to tell you. And that is an avoidant reaction. And that's why, people are like, oh, you hate getting compliments. Yeah, I hate getting compliments because I'm like, what's behind that? And I have the exact same thought process when I get a compliment that I do when I get a criticism. or just somebody making an observation. Of course, I get criticisms more, well, I don't know more. I used to, growing up, get criticisms all the time. And so I don't know anymore that I do, maybe, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It's the same thought process. And so it brings me right back. If growing up 80% of the time they were criticisms and that was this thought process was a criticism to me, I react when I have that thought process as if it is a criticism. And that is why compliments or somebody being nice to me, actually, I react to it exactly the same. That's why, because I do the same thing. I have the avoidant reaction. What is going on here? Why are you saying this to me? It's sort of like worst case scenario type thinking. When is the other shoe going to drop? Okay, you gave me a compliment. Now you're really going to slam me into the dirt. They're just playing. And I'm prepping myself for the second coming. I don't know. So now you see why I'm like, is this a talk or is this a sit down and have a discussion type video? Somewhere in between. And maybe after I have therapy today, which I'm going to really, really, really try. It's going to take guts like I probably don't have to bring it up with my therapist and say, this is what I've been thinking about. Because it's not actually his question, although that's another thing. I don't know. I really kind of wish I would know for sure where the hell he was coming from with that. But it's not even that. It's this process. I think it would be really interesting for him to hear. Really, truly. But it's going to be hard because, my therapist, nice guy, doesn't want to bother anybody. I'm afraid it might, hinder him from ever saying anything to me again, knowing the reaction. I don't know. I'm going to try and bring it up. It's very, very hard to do, but I might actually pull it off. And who knows, maybe I'll get an answer about what he actually meant by that and get more clarification. Something I can remember. This is not having an avoidant overreaction. And again, if I can get this sorted, I might make a normal video, because I think as a sort of the terminology is case study. This one is so clear. This is what the avoidant reaction is. These are the things to look for in your life when you're having a reaction, to see whether or not it's actually a real reaction or if it's an avoidant reaction. That you can't even really hear or understand what was asked of you, that you're immediately questioning the motivation behind it, that that you do have the same feelings that you have when you're being criticized, even when it's not a criticism, when you're looking for the criticism. Where's the criticism hidden within that inquiry or that comment? That is the avoidant personality disorder thought process. And if you can recognize that and say, hey, these are the symptoms, this is what's happening, then you can confront it and stop it. It will still be really confusing, because you're like, okay, do I go with the way I've always thought, which is the avoidant thought, or do I, try to have a different, more rational idea of what's going on? I mean, this guy said this. Maybe it was a criticism, and he's just so nice that I can't figure it out. That's possible. Unlikely. I don't think it was a criticism, but I was reacting as if it was. That is avoidance. So now I can confront it and say, hey, listen, you were feeling like that was a criticism. It wasn't actually a criticism. Look at those words. Look at the context. You didn't need to have this reaction. Probably stopped a conversation that could have been helpful. And now I can go back and say, hey, I was having an avoidant reaction. Can we have this discussion? I'll try not to have an avoidant reaction. I'm going to be aware of it and not be blindsided by it. And try. It might, I mean, who knows? It might take like 4 tries before I actually am able to have this conversation and break it down and not have such an avoidant reaction. I don't know. But that was such a clear case for me that I wanted to point out that you can do that. These are the warning signs. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in other people. You just step back and go, oh, I'm being criticized, even when you're not. That is the avoidant reaction, and that is not reality, and you don't have to stay there in the avoidance. You can push it away and get to the meat of the matter. Really, really hard to do when it's actually happening. Really, really hard to recognize it when it's happening. But, that's okay. That's okay. You can come back to it later and say, hey, I was having this avoidant reaction. Can we talk about this? Where I'm going to be more able to stay in the moment and really hear what you're saying and try to talk about this and not, close off everything and say this is a criticism, and ignore everything else. Anyway, I think I made my point. Bye.